Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Today's video proves that being polite doesn't always work. After months of harassment, aggressive dogs, and ignored warnings, one neighbor's behavior is exposed publicly, turning years of frustration into swift, undeniable consequences. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Private texts failed. Police reports worked. But a public post with video evidence broke them. For context, I have 3 dogs. I'm super conscious of being a responsible owner. If they bark outside, they're brought in immediately, and each one of them has been trained extensively in obedience. My neighbors also have 3 dogs. When they first moved in, they were shocked at how well trained mine were. I could tell it made them insecure because theirs were, and still are, out of control, reactive, and constantly barking. So when they would see me address mine, they would tell me, "Don't do that, they're just being dogs and doing their job." Translation, they don't want to feel bad about their own dog's chaotic behavior. This is the foundational friction. Your discipline was a mirror reflecting their neglect. Their comment wasn't advice. It was a plea for you to lower your standards so their guilt could dissipate. Responsible ownership became an unspoken accusation. Now, my yard is fenced in with vinyl picket fence. $8,000. They built their fence using mine as the 4th wall, which wasn't an issue until one of their dogs started repeatedly trying to break through my fence to attack mine. I went above and beyond to avoid conflict and installed privacy backing on my fence and planted 15 boxwoods, $1,000 more, in an attempt to block the view so their dog wouldn't go berserk. Neighbor's husband literally mocked me, saying, "That's not going to work. They'll still hear each other." Spoiler, he was right. This was the first mistake, trying to solve their dog's aggression with your money and labor. The mockery revealed their true stance. They weren't partners in a solution, they were spectators to your effort, confident their chaos would outlast your civility. So after the extra financial investment and labor-intensive work of planting the bushes didn't work, I sent a polite, carefully worded text and asked that they prevent their dog from attacking my fence, as I was concerned it was going to eventually break, offered solutions, emphasized safety, and said I still wanted to maintain good rapport with one another. Their response, play the victim and blame my dogs. Then I started getting unhinged texts from the wife about how my message ruined her week and how stressful this is for them and how I owed her an apology. Eventually, they put up a 6-foot privacy fence attached to mine, illegal height, but whatever, since they now hate me, I'd prefer not seeing them, hence why I didn't report it to the town. Problem solved, right? Nope. They started letting their dogs off-leash in the unfenced areas. I ended up getting security cameras installed, and thank God I did because I caught everything on video. The same dog trying to break through my fence to attack my dogs, their other 2 running into my garden, and all of them running at large in the street where people walk constantly. The fence was never a solution for them, it was permission. By creating a visual barrier, they thought they'd purchased deniability. The cameras destroyed that illusion, transforming their private nuisance into public record. The lens doesn't get stressed or need apologies. After they started cursing me out when their dog tried attacking mine, I got the police involved, which infuriated her. The lieutenant himself told me to keep sending every clip and he'd find them every single time. He was genuinely concerned about safety in the neighborhood after seeing my footage. Tonight, I caught them on camera walking their dog in the wildlife refuge across the street. Dog poops, they don't pick it up. My neighborhood has a Facebook group where people constantly complain about mystery poop, so this time, instead of ignoring it, I sent the video to our community leader. He told me to post it publicly and also asked that I email every resident about their behavior. Done. Now the entire neighborhood knows they're the scumbags who let their dogs off leash, have an aggressive dog trying to attack others, don't pick up after them. People even commented they've stopped walking on our block because they felt unsafe, and others said they always wondered who was leaving the piles all over. Even better, our community leader also personally went over to shame them and said he'd bring it up with the cops too. Power in numbers, baby. The ultimate escalation, from a private dispute to a public health and safety issue, you stopped being the sole complainant and became the evidence curator for the whole community. Their behavior was no longer a neighbor drama, but a quantifiable threat, unspinnable and sanctioned by collective outrage. So tonight, instead of me being frustrated, they got called out publicly, shamed privately, and will likely get fined again soon. And I got to sit back knowing every single word I said was backed by video evidence with no way for them to spin it. And our next story. They thought they could complain their neighbors out. They complained themselves out instead. Back in 2011, I worked private security. Not mall cop, not rent-a-cop, not observe and report. This was armed, licensed, trained private security contracted to high-end residential properties. The kind of places where the cheapest car in the garage costs more than most houses. Underground garages full of six-figure cars, concierge desks, valet parking, marble lobbies, glass elevators, the works. And where there's that much money concentrated in one place, there's something else in equal supply: entitlement. These buildings were Karen breeding grounds. Imagine entire apartment complexes full of people who'd never been told no in their lives, mixed with bored teenagers whose parents' credit cards had no limits. That was our daily environment. The company itself, though, was solid. The owner was a full-time cop who ran the security company on the side. He understood exactly what we dealt with. His guidance was simple: be professional, be polite, but don't let residents walk all over you. And his favorite line, half joke, half serious, was that if we didn't get at least 2 complaints a month about worthless nonsense, we probably weren't engaging the residents enough. He wasn't wrong. Each supervisor was assigned a group of properties. Regular officers handled patrols, but supervisors dealt with escalations, evictions, town hall meetings, chronic problem residents, adjusting patrol routes, identifying hotspots, coordinating with property managers. I had 12 properties under me at the time, and one of them was special. This particular apartment complex had that couple. Every property has one. The tenants who know the emergency line by heart and treat it like a personal concierge service. We had an emergency line open from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., and these people treated it like customer support for their personal grievances. They lived on a lower floor and constantly complained about their upstairs neighbors. At first, the complaints sounded reasonable: stomping, loud music, talking late at night, cooking smells, a dog peeing on the balcony and liquid allegedly dripping down onto theirs. Individually, these were valid issues, if there was evidence. There never was. Every time officers responded, they found nothing. No excessive noise, no music, no wet balcony, no odor violations, nothing. And once we started pushing back, asking more questions, documenting inconsistencies, the couple changed tactics. They went racist. The upstairs neighbors were a middle-aged Asian couple. Quiet, polite, friendly, never caused issues. The husband had a noticeable accent and was an immigrant. The wife was born and raised in the U.S., but the downstairs couple didn't know that. They assumed both were immigrants and leaned hard into it. Suddenly, the calls weren't just about noise. They cook weird food. Why can't they eat American food if they're in America? I don't feel safe in the garage when they're driving. They don't belong here. Always carefully phrased, never outright slurs, just enough to be vile without triggering immediate consequences. It pissed me off deeply. But being angry isn't grounds for eviction. All I could do was instruct my officers to document every phrasing, word for word, every racial comment, every insinuation. No summaries, no softening, exact quotes. I spoke with the property manager about it. She hated it too, but her hands were tied. If the comments weren't made directly to the upstairs tenants and the tenants hadn't complained, there wasn't much she could do. Meanwhile, the calls kept coming. Not once in a while, not weekly, sometimes twice a night. 5 to 8 calls a week. Emergency line responses cost the property more than routine patrols, meaning their lives were literally costing money. I wanted them gone, not just because they were racist, but because they were abusing the system and wasting resources. Then about a month later, the opportunity dropped right into my lap. The upstairs couple called me during the day. They told me they were leaving the country for 2 weeks, China, to visit family, and wanted me to know in case the downstairs neighbor complained again. They also asked if we could check their door once a night to make sure it was secure. I told them yes. Then I told them something else. Don't tell anyone you're leaving. Not your neighbors, not even casually. Only the property manager and me. They agreed. That's when the plan came together. This is the tactical pivot. Their absence wasn't just a break, it was a controlled variable. You turn their vacation into a perfect, airtight experiment. The empty apartment became the ultimate fact check, transforming subjective complaints into objectively false reports. That night, during patrol briefing, I looped in every officer on rotation. I explained exactly what I wanted. Every time the downstairs couple called, officers were to respond, document everything, mark the report urgent, and include every racial term, no matter how minor. No shortcuts, no paraphrasing. 14 days. Let them talk. Once the upstairs couple left the country, the clock officially started. For the next 14 days, the apartment above the problem couple was completely empty. No footsteps, no voices, no cooking, no music, no dog, nothing. My officers checked the door once every night, logged the condition, and confirmed the unit was secure and unoccupied every single time. Meanwhile, the emergency phone kept ringing. The downstairs couple didn't miss a beat. If anything, they escalated. The first night they complained about stomping. An officer responded, documented the call, checked the upstairs unit, confirmed no one was home, and wrote it up exactly as instructed, marked urgent, submitted. 2 nights later, it was loud talking, same result. Then it was music, then heavy walking, then they're cooking again and the smell is unbearable. Then the garage comments came back, then the racial comments crept in again, subtle at first, then bolder as they grew frustrated that we weren't immediately doing something. Every single call was logged. Every single report included timestamps, officer names, apartment numbers, exact quotes, and confirmation that the upstairs unit was vacant at the time of the complaint. By the end of the 2 weeks, they had called 18 times. 18! All false. The genius was in letting the system absorb their chaos. You didn't argue or confront, you just provided a flawless, boring record of what's going on. There lies the needed drama to survive. Your documentation was the silent, factual vacuum that suffocated them. I compiled everything into a neat packet and walked it straight to the property manager. She sat at her desk, flipping through page after page, her expression going from irritated to stunned to outright angry. "Let's evict them," she said flatly. That was it. No hesitation, no debate. Because this wasn't just harassment anymore, it was documented abuse of emergency services, repeated false reporting, and a pattern of discriminatory behavior. And on top of that, every emergency response was costing the property money. A formal eviction notice went out. They were informed they had 10 days to schedule a meeting. If they didn't, eviction would proceed automatically. They scheduled the meeting. Of course they did. The eviction meeting process was very structured. No HOA nonsense. This was a rental property. Present were the tenants, the property manager, and me, acting as security supervisor. If eviction was security related, my role was to present facts only. No opinions, no interpretations, just what was documented. These meetings were video recorded for legal reasons. That way tenants couldn't later claim things were said or done that weren't. When I arrived, the couple was already there. The property manager sat at the head of the table. The wife immediately zeroed in on me. "Why is he armed?" she snapped, pointing at me. I calmly explained that this was my assigned uniform, dress shirt, tie, slacks, 1 duty weapon, 1 magazine. She said she felt uncomfortable and demanded the meeting be rescheduled. The property manager didn't even look at me. "This happens now," she said, voice cold, "or I will process the eviction without your input." They folded. The recording started. I laid all 18 reports out in front of me and began going through them one by one. Date, time, apartment number, nature of complaint, officer response, findings, exact quotes. After each report, I asked the same question. "Are you claiming this report is false?" They tried to argue at first, claimed officers weren't thorough, claimed we favored the upstairs tenants, claimed we didn't understand what they were experiencing. But then I read the racial remarks back to them, word for word. That's when they changed tactics. "That's not what we said." So I adjusted the phrasing. "You are stating that the noise complaint is valid, but the racial comments attributed to you are false. Is that correct?" "Yes," every time. By the 7th report, the wife started getting agitated. She complained I was dragging things out. I smiled politely and reminded her she would have a chance to ask questions after I finished. Until then, this was my time. And I kept going. 18 reports, 18 admissions. Then I closed my folder. I informed them very calmly that during the time of all 18 complaints, the tenants in the upstairs apartment were out of the country, that they had provided documentation. that officers had physically checked the unit nightly and confirmed it was empty. The silence in the room was immediate and heavy. The looks on their faces shifted from smug to confused to outright panicked. I ended my portion of the meeting and leaned back. That's when they tried to defend themselves, and that's when everything really went off the rails. The husband stared at the table. The wife stared at me. The property manager watched both of them with an expression that said she had already made up her mind, and this meeting was now just a formality. Then the wife spoke. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "You're choosing them over us?" The manager didn't respond. "They're not even from here," the wife continued, her voice rising. "They shouldn't even be allowed to live here. We're Americans." That was the moment I knew they were done. The property manager leaned forward slightly. "Be very careful with what you say next." The husband tried to interject, but the wife bulldozed right over him. "You're just protecting your own kind," she said, looking directly at the manager. "Of course you would." The manager blinked once. "I am an immigrant," she replied evenly. The wife froze for half a second, then doubled down. "Well, then you're clearly biased." At that point, I stopped taking notes. There was no reason to. This is where they screwed their strategy. They assumed bias was something others had, never themselves. When confronted with a neutral system of facts, they could only respond by revealing their own prejudice more loudly, cementing their guilt in the official record. The manager shut the folder in front of her and turned off the recording. "This meeting's over," she said. "You are being evicted." The wife exploded. She accused the company of discrimination. She accused me of harassment. She accused the officers of lying. She accused the upstairs tenants, who were not even present, of invading her space. She accused the manager of treason, favoritism, and being anti-American. Every word made it worse. The manager waited until the wife finally ran out of breath. "You will receive formal paperwork within 24 hours, she said. "You will have 14 days to vacate. Any further incidents will be documented and submitted directly to the court." The husband tried to argue, tried to walk things back, tried to claim misunderstandings. Too late. They were escorted out of the office by me, not physically, just firmly. No raised voices, no threats, just calm direction. Outside, the wife screamed that she would sue everyone, that we would regret it, that she had rights. I wished her a nice afternoon and walked back inside. The paperwork moved fast. Between the false emergency calls, the documented racial harassment, and the financial cost to the property, the eviction was airtight. When it went before a judge, they were initially granted 30 days instead of 14. That lasted about 10 minutes. According to what the property manager later told me, the wife interrupted the judge repeatedly, accusing him of siding with immigrants and eventually called him a racial slur. The judge extended nothing. 14 days, no exceptions. During that 2-week period, we made it very clear to the upstairs couple that they were safe. We told them we would no longer respond to complaints regarding their apartment unless they themselves called. If anything felt off, they were to contact us immediately. They were polite, grateful, and honestly more concerned about causing trouble than benefiting from the situation. The downstairs couple, meanwhile, spiraled. They called less frequently, but when they did, it was angrier, more desperate, less coherent. Each call was documented. Each one added another nail. On their final night in the building, they attempted one last complaint about stomping. An officer responded, documented it, and politely reminded them they were moving out in the morning. They slammed the door in his face. The next day, they were gone. No dramatic confrontation, no last stand, just a moving truck and a lot of angry looks. The apartment was inspected. It was in poor condition, damage, filth, cigarette burns they had previously denied. That went to court too. The upstairs couple returned a few days later. I personally called them and explained everything was resolved. They thanked me repeatedly, almost embarrassed by the attention. A month later, they brought cookies to the office. That job taught me a lot, that documentation beats emotion every time, that people who lie constantly eventually forget which version they told last, and that some people don't get evicted by landlords or courts, they evict themselves, one sentence at a time. The ultimate lesson is structural. You didn't defeat them with superior morality or force. You simply created conditions where their own behavior became inadmissible evidence against them. The system, when fed clean data, has a relentless, impersonal logic that bigotry and entitlement are fundamentally incompatible with. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.